Hi everyone, Shade here with a Circle of Spores monk build, or spunk as I was laughingly calling it earlier today. This is taking the Circle of Spores Druid and adding an open hand monk, and then there's a couple of options you can choose later on down the line to make it more powerful depending on what you want. This revolves around the patch 1 from a couple days ago update of Symbiotic Entity, adding 1 to 6 necrotic damage while you have the 12 temporary hit points from the skill. So this basically adding with everything that the open hand gives you a lot of damage on just an unarmed strike, and even more so on flurry of blows, which we want to take full advantage of. Before I get into the build, I just want to remind you that I do stream on Twitch. You can see the link here. It's twitch.tv/shade. If you want to come check me out, go ahead. I stream most of the time depending on work, and I'd love to just sit and chat with you. Also, this is YouTube, so do whatever you need to do. Follow, like, subscribe, comment, everything. It's fun, but let's get into the build. You can take this a few ways if you want to, but I think we should take Druid at level 1. This adds the abilities to use scimitars as monk weapons, which kind of helps. It gives you a little bit extra damage and can make it a little bit flashier if you really, really want to, even though this is an open hand build and we will be relying on mostly open hands. Scimitars can be an option. And I suggest you go up to level 3 Druid and then skip over to monk. But if you're leveling this up, I would go maybe 2 Druid just to get the Circle of Spores, and then go into monk just so you can get to the second attack faster. But as I'm level 11, my leveling will be just a little bit different. So at first level, we choose Druid. Race, if you're going to use this as a character that isn't Karlach or any of the other ones, you can pretty much choose what you want. If you want to be more roleplay, you can choose a Drow or a Deep Gnome or a Dwargar. Anything with dark vision probably works, but you can kind of make it your own if you really, really want to. For cantrips, choose whatever. If you're leveling this from level 1, Shillelagh helps because you're going to be needing just the extra damage from Shillelagh because it adds your wisdom. And then Thorn Whip is good just to pull people around, but you can choose whichever one you want. Guidance is always useful early and throughout the rest of the game. For ability points, I'm going Strength. There is something to be said about going Dexterity instead. You get better AC, and I think just a little bit less damage, but not much. Because with Dexterity, you can pair it with Wisdom, and you can use that to raise your skills and your damage. But I'm going Strength so I can choose Tavern Brawler. And the split for Strength should be 17, 14 Dex, 16 Wisdom. If I was going Dexterity, I'd probably do a 16 Dex, 16 Wisdom, 14 Constitution. My Constitution is low because I have the Amulet of Greater Health. So that allows me to put a little bit extra. I would probably go 14 Wisdom, 14 Dex, 17 Strength, and 12 Constitution until I got that, and then give this to her. So you can kind of min-max a little bit, because having more Wisdom will help your AC and also your damage, as I'll show you in a little bit. For your skills, choose whichever ones you want. Perception's really good, and then the rest are just kind of flavor for whatever you feel like you need. Maybe Insight. It's really up to you, but Perception is probably the best, especially because we can get expertise in it through the Rogue. Now, level 2 unpacks a lot of fun stuff for the Druid. We get to choose our subclass between the 3 of these. We are obviously going Circle of Spores, but for all Druids in general, it unlocks the Wild Shape ability, which allows us to change our shape into various animals. These are actually pretty good utilities, so we can use them throughout the game. You only get a couple with this build, minus there's an item that gives you an extra charge of Wild Shape. I'd only use the Wild Shape charge if you can. But it does recharge on short rest, so you can be a little bit more liberal, but just keep that in mind, because once you lose your temporary hit points, it's off, and you can't do the additional necrotic damage. What Circle of Spores brings is it brings Symbiotic Entity, which I said before, you get temporary hit points, you deal an extra 1 to 6 necrotic damage on your attacks, and then you also get to cast the reactionary Halo Spores. and it counts twice. So it's 2d4 while you have your temporary hit points. Early game, it's okay. I think it falls off later in the game. And the biggest issue with this entire build is necrotic damage doesn't affect certain enemies, so it can feel kind of weak, but for the most part, it affects a lot, and you can do a lot of damage with it. You also get the Bone Chill cantrip, which is a ranged attack, and you can prevent a target from healing. And then undead receive disadvantage on their attack rolls, which can be a good filler if you're trying to get somewhere. But since we're a monk, we'll get there pretty quickly. As far as spells goes, I would just choose utility because you're not really going to be using any kind of damage spells. Early in the game, you might use some, but I like to keep up just a few utility spells. So like a jump, a speak with animals, healing word just to be kind of like a backup healer, especially early works. And depending on if you have like Shadow Heart or not, and then she can cast Longstrider, you might want to have Longstrider because you can buff the entire group. And then I'll just throw Fairy Fire on there. But like I said, you're not going to be casting spells too much. You're going to be doing monk stuff, especially later in the game. At level 3, we'll choose our 3rd level in Druid. This gives us level 2 spells. We have a few to choose from. We also get Blindness and Detect Thoughts. Detect Thoughts is a ritual spell, so we get that for free. As far as extra spells go, I would probably look at maybe Gusts of Wind could be a decent one. I think it might be a bit utility. Spike Growth could be good, especially early on before you get into your monk levels. Just throwing that out there and making the enemy come to you. It's always good. Having Restoration is good. Even Pass with Trace. It's really up to you. At level 3 or at level 4 here, we're going to choose our first level of Monk. As I said earlier, you can go 2 into Druid and then go into Monk so you can get your extra attack a little bit earlier. It's all up to you, but how I'm leveling this is 3 into Druid, 6 into Monk, and then 3 into Rogue. So we're going to choose Monk, and with it comes all the fun Monk stuff. Flurry of Blows, which is our main damage dealer, and then the dexterous attacks and everything like that. You won't be too strong. I think you'll still want to use your Shillelagh attacks with the quarterstaff because you'll be able to add all your monk goodness to it. Next level, we're going to choose Monk again. This gives us extra movement and then our Step of the Winds and Patient Defense, which is a good use of key points for a little bit if you're not going to use it on Flurry of Blows. It helps you get around the battlefield. Level 6, we get to choose our subclass for Monk, and we are going to go Way of the Open Hand. This gives us a lot of utility where we can knock foes prone, we can stagger them so they don't have any reaction, or we can push them if we want to, push them off of ledges, whatever we want. It really enhances our Flurry of Blows to give it just a little bit more. Level 7, we choose our 4th level of Monk. We get a feat because we're finally 4 levels in, and I'm going to choose Tavern Brawler and up my strength to 18. So this will give you 18 strength, and about now is when you'll have access to Act 2, where you can get the Mighty Cloth. I'll show it to you in the equipment section, but that'll give you 2 more points of strength, and basically this doubles your strength modifier on unarmed attacks. So this gives us a +4. We'll be doing +8 damage on every unarmed attack. This is where we want to stop using weapons and start just using our fists because we'll do a little bit more damage. Level 8, we get the 5th level of Monk. We get our extra attack, and then we get the Stunning Strikes. These are actually pretty good. You spend a key and you can stun an enemy and they basically lose their turn. It's really good against a multitude of enemies. I use it more often than I thought, but the real bonus here is getting the extra attack. At level 9, we get our 6th level of Monk. This adds the next subclass upgrades where we get the manifestations, which add extra damage to our attacks. And we also get Wholeness of Body, which heals us, gives us half our key points, and then we regen a key point around, and we also have an extra bonus action to spend on Flurry of Blows. This is where monks start, being able to Nova a lot of things. We also get key empowered strikes, so our strikes are now magical. At level 10, this is where the build can diverge a little bit, and I'm going rogue because I want to get thief for the extra bonus attack, which is an extra flurry of blows. So when I blow wholeness of body, I'll have 3 bonus attacks, which is 6 attacks with all that damage. It really adds up. But you can either do that like I'm going to do, go rogue into thief, or you can continue monk into level 9 to get the Fist of Resonance, which is an AoE attack. That is a really good attack as well, but you have to have the ability to bunch the enemies together, or it doesn't really work too well. In my game, I haven't done any Illithid powers, so I don't have like Black Hole, which I can pull everything in and then hit them with Fist of Resonance. So I'm going to go the more single target route, but it's up to you. If you want to keep going in monk, you will. You'll get the step up in damage at level 12, which is level 9 monk. So your fist will start doing a D8, and it may be at level 8. I don't remember. But I'm going to go into rogue because this is also my lockpicker. So in rogue, you get the choice of abilities. I choose sleight of hand and expertise in sleight of hand. Then I also choose expertise in perception. Next level, we're going to take our second level of rogue. These gives you the cunning action where you can hide, you can stash, or you can disengage. And then because I'm not level 12 yet, at level 12, we'll take the thief subclass, which will give us an extra bonus attack through fast hands. And that happens every round. And then we'll be able to flurry of blows as often as we need to. As far as items go, for Karlach, I would say go unarmed. It just is easier. I'm actually using the Darkfire shortbow as a range because it gives me haste, so I can use that if I want to. She does get hit a little bit because, as you can see, her AC is only 17. Her being able to haste herself for a little bit helps, especially if you can take out all the, like if you send her after trash mobs, she can usually kill them in one flurry of blows. So having her just kind of dash around and kill all the trash mobs really, really helps. For helmet, I have the Horns of the Berserker. This adds +2 to my attack rolls when I'm attacking creatures that have already taken damage. She usually goes like second or third behind my Warlock, my Sorlock. So usually the enemies she's fighting are already damaged, so this is up quite often. It also allows you to do an extra, it says 2 necrotic damage, but it's actually 1d4. That's just an average. It's actually 1d4 extra necrotic damage as long as you don't have full health, which she has a low AC. She's not at full health all the time. So that helps. And then if I don't deal any damage, it hurts you and basically kicks Bloodthirst in, which is really good. It's kind of what you want. For her back, I use Cloak of Displacement. This adds displacement at the beginning of my turn where all enemies have disadvantage when attacking her until they hit me, and then displacement is gone. It just kind of helps her survive a little bit and run around. For her chest, we're wearing the Vest of Soul Rejuvenation. This is found in Leroican's Tower, I believe. I think I bought it. Whenever I succeed a saving throw against a spell, I regain 1 to 4 hit points. The counter is great. I can use a reaction to make an unarmed strike against any attacker that misses me, which with the Cloak of Displacement happens a lot, so I can use my reaction if I want to. This gives me +2 to my armor class, which is really needed, especially because I'm not wearing the Braces of Defense. I'm wearing Gloves of Soul Catching. These add 1 to 10 force damage on my unarmed attacks, and every attack I make is unarmed, so this is up all the time. Once per turn, on an unarmed hit, I can regain 10 hit points, or I can forego that healing to gain advantage on attack rolls and saving throws until the end of my next turn. And then it adds 2 to my Constitution, which doesn't really affect anything because of my amulet. For boots, I'm wearing Boots of the Uninhibited Kushigo. This basically adds my wisdom modifier into my unarmed attacks, so that's why my wisdom is 16, because that's an extra +3. And then for my amulet, I have the Amulet of Greater Health. This sets my Constitution to 23, which is why she has 124 hit points. And I also have advantage on Constitution saving throws. I'm wearing the Eversight Ring to just give me blindness immunity. And then I also have the Ring of Free Action. This basically, I ignore difficult terrain and I can't be paralyzed or restrained. I'm not sure of anything else that I would get. I haven't really found a lot of it. So my unarmed strike does 19 to 44 damage with all those extra damages. It adds up a ton. And on Flurry of Blows, it's goes up to, I can max out at 88 damage. And if I have haste and I have wholeness of body up and I'm thief, that is a ton of damage because it's basically 6 attacks for maximum of 44 damage each, and then the 4 attacks I get there. So I mean, we're looking at like 440 damage if I hit my max potential. This is a pretty strong build. The only place it falls down is against anything that is resistant to necrotic damage, or if you get hit a lot, which because of I have displacement, it doesn't happen as often. It was frustrating before, but it doesn't happen as often now. But she is a powerhouse. She cleans up everything. My Sorlock sets them up and she knocks them down because she can just teleport around. Well, not teleport. She just runs all over the place. I cast haste with Shadowheart and then Sanctuary on Shadowheart so that haste doesn't break, and then just let her go and she just rolls over people. But that's the Spunk build. Sorry for the name, but that's the Spore Monk build. It's a lot of fun. I suggest you try it. Like I said, I'm not sure if it will be as strong as the 9 open hand 3 thief, but I think it gives it a run for its money, especially with the extra utility that you get through the Druid class. So thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, give me a follow, leave a comment, do the YouTube stuff, and check me out on Twitch. I'm streaming most nights, and I will be transitioning to Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty when that comes out too. So if you're looking for that, I will be doing a few builds from there with the new completely updated version of that game. But anyway, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you later.